Hello everybody, welcome to the first look at Old Acquaintances DLC for Vagrus the Riven Realms. My name is Ben the Human, and this is my absolute first take on this. I loaded it up earlier to make sure it was actually working. You can tell we are in the crossroads, in the space between the realms, and this is how you start the DLC. I think there was a pop-up if you bought the DLC and you're like, how do I get in and get my new companion? I believe there is a pop-up that tells you exactly what you need. It's something like 8 renown. You need to be able to go between the realms into this liminal space and then come back after talking with Braxius, which is one of the first things you do in the game. So you should definitely be able to if you're around the mid-game. It's not going to be something you can do right away. But the 2 companions that you can choose in the game are known commodities, at least if you played the tutorial. If you skip the tutorial, you might not know who these guys are. But you only get to pick one too, so we're gonna pick one, and I'm gonna continue forward with the person we pick, but I think I will record the other companion's side campaign just for YouTube, and that'll get posted in the future. So if you're like, I want to see the other guy, fear not, it'll come eventually. But let's walk to the realm gate, open the realm gate, and pass through into the crossroads. And thus begins our effort to get a new companion. As you are about to leave the realm gate's vicinity behind, you hear a sharp yell from the front of the column just when you are concluding your last inspection of the cargo. Some of your komis are pointing in a southwesterly direction. Turning that way, you narrow and strain your eyes, eventually spying a lone figure some distance from the comitatus. Standing on a large rock, it appears to be a young man who hails you. "Greetings, Vagrus," he announces you, his wide smile clearly visible at a distance. "I bring you a message from a certain Braxius who resides in Torzag Shelter. I would appreciate it if you heard me out." You wonder how he got this close without being seen, but on this terrain it is not very difficult feat if one has the right skills. Approach him, order him to stay put and scout the area, or detain him. Let's scout the area. We got scouts. The young man nods and folds his arms, waiting patiently for your scouts to circle the area and spend a quarter of an hour looking for tracks, signs of an ambush, or any such perils. When they return saying they cannot identify any threats, you walk up to the messenger to hear him out. He seems to be glad. You sit down with the messenger and indicate that you are listening. "As I've said, the pawnbroker Abraxius from Torzag Shelter sent me to find you here," he begins. "He says that you owe him a favor. Indebted to Braxius, value must exceed the requirement." I assume this is because we got companions from him back in the day, and now he's like, they owe me one. "Let me rephrase that," the messenger tells you with a smile. "He kindly reminds you that you owe him a favor he did you some time ago. I believe this was like 10 years ago in-game for me." "He asks you to talk to him in his pawn shop, which you will find in the market district of Torzag Shelter, at your earliest convenience." You wait for a few moments, but the fellow just smiles. "That's it," he says eventually. "I don't know anything else, so I'll be off now." Ask him how they knew you would be here." He shakes his head. "I don't know," he shrugs. "Braxius told me to come here exactly to the spot near the crossroads and wait because you will appear. Out of thin air," he said, "during a 2-day window. So I came here and waited, and here you are. I don't know more, unfortunately. Perhaps you should ask him." Let him go and prepare to depart. The young fellow picks up his sling bag, waves you goodbye and the crew, and then heads out into the wasteland, whistling a whimsical tune. Your komes peer at you expectantly, exchanging confused looks. Not wishing to tarry, you give the order to move out. You will come to a decision about the matter of Braxius while you are traveling. The comitatus sets out in a timely fashion. We will do that. We got something called a Braxian Gambit. All right. To Torzag Shelter we go. We don't have any movement, so let's but after the last episode that went on YouTube, I just bought all the supplies in the Crimson Gate, I believe, and I was like, I don't know how far I'm gonna have to go for this DLC, so we have a ridiculous amount of supplies. Still got 3,000 bros, which is good. One more day. And then into Torzag Shelter. Approach the guards, nothing to hide, show them our license, and in we go. Let's see. In the market district. Visit Braxius in his store. You find the Demonkin pawnbroker leaning on the counter of his crowded store. He looks up and grins as you enter. Hey, Captain Ben, been looking for you. I don't remember what voice I was using for this guy, so that's what he sounds like now. You ask him what he wants from you. So my messenger found you, eh? He asks you rhetorically. Good, I needed to talk to you. You tell him to get to the point, and the Demonkin pawnbroker flashes a ghoulish grin. I'd like to collect on that debt of yours, he tells you, wringing his hands. He seems nervous. Remember when I aided you in tracking down one of the savants that became your companion? You mean the two guys that are standing right next to me? Braxius claps his hands. You agreed for that. For my service, you would owe me a favor, and now the time has come to make good on your promise. But don't fret, Captain, because this whole business will be your benefit in the end, actually. Intrigued, you press the Demonkin to be specific. What does he require from you? In return for the favor, he says, pursing his lips and folding his hands, I ask that you find an individual from two possible candidates, both men. They are stuck somewhere, so to say, out in the Wasteland. Seek out and talk to one of them. Persuade him to move on. Offer him work. That could be the best thing to do, probably. Either could be a powerful asset to Aquaintances. Makes no difference to me, but Agos, you see, he wanted to push them out of their current state. Agos? Aye, the old man was the one to reach out to you through me. Oh, Agos is the guy who told us the story in the original tutorial. And gave us, like, the weird teleportation amulet that we have that allows us to go through the realm gate. Is Agos like a secret god? I don't know. I'm merely a mediator, you could say. I'm working off a debt to Agos, you see. That shriveled bastard. Anyway, he just instructed me to send for you to get you on the matter of the two men. You tell Braxius that the last time you saw Agos, he was in great peril, and you doubt he could have survived it. Did we? What happened to him? Oh, that's right. When we went through the realm gate, there were like undead all around us. Or the Pilgrims, or something. It's been a long time. The pawnbroker's grin makes you shudder. I don't think he's dead, Captain. He whispers. He sent me the message after you parted ways at the crossroads. He mentioned it, gave details. Yep, he's magic. He's a magic man. You gather your thoughts briefly and ask Braxius why Agos would want you to do this. The pawnbroker shrugs. He does this all the time, he tells you casually. Since I've known him, he's been busy setting up meetings and arranging encounters between travelers of all sorts. The old wanker rarely ever elaborates on why, and this time was no different either. You still have questions. Ask him what Agos told him exactly. I received a message from him, a letter, Braxius confides. We have a code of sorts, so I'm certain it's him. In it, he told me to send for you and convince you to pick up one of these lost travelers. They're in a rut, and Agos wants them unstuck. Don't even ask for his reasons, Captain. You know how he is. I never know why he does what he does. I had no means to inquire, but even if I did, there wouldn't have been a point in doing so. The old fart likes being mysterious. Discuss something else. I assume Agos tell him. Yeah, I was gonna say, ask Braxius how he knew where to wait for you. In his letter, Agos was very clear about this detail, Braxius tells you while scratching his horned dome. You tell him that it is impossible, considering where you were and how you got back. Captain, Braxius tells you with a gaze and tone of a parent gently scolding a dumb child. By now you must have some indication the old geezer is not exactly what he appears. I don't know what he is, but he ain't a silly old man with entertaining stories. Your guess is as good as mine, but one thing's for sure. He knew where you'd be and when, so I sent the messenger there at the right time, and well, here you are. Discuss something else. So who are these? If you do as you ask, you will no longer owe Braxius. He places his right hand on his heart. I hereby vow that your debt will be null and void if you do this task for me, he says theatrically. Well, for Agos, really, but since I owe him and you owe me, you get the picture. Just pick one guy from the two and go there. Give him a push, or better yet, hire him. Discuss something else. So who are these two people you need to seek out? Right. Braxius rubs his palms together excitedly. First off, these two are old acquaintances, but there's no love lost between them. For this reason, Agos asks you to pick one of these two men. Go to his location and convince him to move on if need be. It might not be necessary though. The way to old man Oh wait, the way the old man described it, your appearance will probably set in motion things that will achieve his goal. Still, he encourages you to hire the one you end up picking because either of them could prove to be a great asset to your enterprise. Maybe you can help each other out. The old geezer hints at these two having problems of their own. You nod and Braxius goes on. One of them is a powerful sorcerer, biding his time in a tiny oasis in the searing plains to the west. The other is a dark warrior who is lingering on the border of the Arenas Negras. You ask Braxius if you need to pick now. No, Captain, the pawnbroker says. I'll leave that decision with you. Do it when you feel convenient. I'll just give you the exact locations, and then it's up to you. But remember, these two hate each other, so whatever you do, pick one and go with it. You ask him what you can say about Braxius and Agos. Anything, really, he shrugs. I'm merely a mediator, so I don't care. And Agos wouldn't mind if his identity came up in the conversations you are to have. No matter, really. As these two will probably not know what any of this means. Make sure they understand that they owe the old man nothing, though, should it ever come up. You tell him that you understand. With that, Braxius marks the two locations on your chart and flashes you a grin. There, done. Thanks for this, Captain, and good luck. Take your leave of the pawnbroker, going back to the Acquaintances to think about what happened. Okay, so we need to go and find... So the sorcerer, if you don't want to be spoiled, pause now. The sorcerer is Javek from the tutorial, and the warrior is Sedarias, who is like the paladin of what's that god who's angry all the time? Sergorod. So those are the two people you have to choose between. And it looks like we need to go all the way up here to find Sedarias, and we'd have to come out here to find Javek. So I'm kind of torn. We already missed out on Finderath when I didn't understand what was happening with the ambush Acquaintances up here, which means we're like short one sorcerer, right? So I was tempted to get Javek, but I've been talking to people, and apparently Sedarius' quest is pretty awesome, and I think it would just be kind of fun to have an undead warrior zombie skeleton man in the crew. So before we go, I shouldn't have left the city, but it doesn't really matter since we can get in and out for free. Let's take a look and see if we can do some trading along the way to Avernum. Really, we could go two ways about this. We could leave Torzeg Shelter and hit Larnak and then go up to Avernum, or we could go the Devon route and then go over this way. What I'm thinking, though, is Devon probably makes the most sense, especially if we pick up this Carpenters Guild mission. I feel like I should have a lot more cargo space than this, but apparently not. I have 25 horses. I don't know. Let's get some more beasts of burden, and then we need more slaves to balance out the labor. Okay, we're pretty close. What if we get one more horse? Two more horses, okay. All right, let's see here. Devon, yes, I realize I am smuggling things. We still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 cargo. And if you're new around here, welcome to how the game works. All right, we're smuggling things. Let's buy up the last of the supplies that we can. This is the essence of Vagrus the Riven Realms, is you buy things, you take them elsewhere and trade them, and in the process, some cool story happens. The lore in this game is amazing. The trading simulation is very fun. The combat is a little wonky, but overall, I enjoy it. Some people don't. It's kind of up to you. But the cool thing is you can play the tutorial for free, I believe. It's like the demo, essentially. And you definitely get kind of an idea of how the game plays based on going through the tutorial. And the tutorial will introduce you to the two companions, or at least one of the companions that we're about to meet. So that's kind of fun. I'm going to follow the roads up here. So this thing that I'm using is I have this special ability to change march points, which are just essentially force marching your people by spending some of their vigor and morale to go further. But I have an ability to convert some of those points into traditional movement points, which is what you can just move per day without straining your crew. So that when I hit this arrow, that's what I'm doing. If you're like, why is he suddenly going further than he normally would? That's what I'm doing. Like right now. Hit this arrow, now all of a sudden I got 3 more movement points. So I get to go a little further than other people normally would. And that's based on my background when I created this character. I can't remember what I chose to make him that way, but it's a pretty nifty skill, I'd say. Alright, we made it all the way to Devon. Approach the guards. We are going to smuggle our stuff in, show them our license, then we'll sell our stuff that we are hauling for other people. This I need to keep holding on to. That's for one of my companions to make him a cool suit of armor. Alright, so now we want to head over to Avernum, and in the process we could take stuff to go to Sunrock or Ash as well, because that's in the same direction. But I would like to go all the way to Avernum if I can. Just because I think it would be more valuable to do that than to be trading stuff nearby. So we'll take this mission. And then we'll take this guy. And then we're basically full, so I'll just stack up on more supplies for myself, and then we'll just head out. And I've traversed these roads many a time before. If you're an old hat to the series, you've seen me travel between all of these cities many times, so I'm not gonna gloss over the details, or I am gonna gloss over the details a little bit. I'm not gonna dive into them because I'm sure people have seen them many times. If you want to see more of the details of each of these cities that we're passing through, definitely go check out my YouTube series. It's at like 160 episodes or so now. There's a lot to see. Part of it is I'm just very slow at this game, but I do like just kind of relishing the story. It's very well done. A lot of lore in this game. If you don't like reading, probably not the game for you, but I love it. It's well made, very good game. I gotta remember, not all of these supplies are mine. And I think I have something to deliver. Here? Yeah. Some of those supplies were meant for Ash, which makes sense because Ash has no resources. We'll take this. Why not? Go into Avernum. We could ditch some of the beasts of burden that we have just to kind of make ourselves a little more efficient. I think I will. And then we'll sell off a little bit of the crew as well. Right, head out. Okay, now we go looking for the Dark Warrior. So he's going to be along the edge of the Arenas Negras, they said. So we'll kind of skirt along the edge here. I know when you get close to it, your Aquaintances gets annoyed. Oh, the liberated tribe. Fight them. They're so weak. Defend equally. Let's build our makeshift barricade. I was kind of hoping I could get Sedarias first and then fight these dudes, but we'll just go for it. Oh man, you dummies. You're always getting killed in the line of battle. Oh man. Well, we wiped them out, but we did get a couple injured people. Give them time to heal. It's always a dice roll, basically, is how the combat works in this game. We lost 2 fighters and a slave. Well done. Good job, us. I hope I get a better tip for doing that. Ah, maybe it's right here. Oh, maybe not? I guess we'll see. Where are we? Ah, it must be up there. It does make sense. It's the only node, like, in the Arenas Negras. So, let's camp outside. Get some vigor back. Ren healed a little bit. And in we go. Alright. Looking out at the northern horizon where strange lights are shining just over the Black Sands, you realize how dangerously close you are to entering Arenas Negras properly. Even here, the sand is colored a dark gray and an eerie silence hangs oppressively in the air. You give the order for the comitatus to halt, to the relief of all your comies, and consult your charts. There can be no doubt, this is exactly the stretch of gray fine sand that Braxius pointed you to find the Dark Warrior. But could anybody be staying in this desolate wasteland? Spread out and take a look. Your crew explores your immediate surroundings carefully, but nothing interesting turns up. Yet a sense of dread creeps in on you, all slowly but steadily. You catch yourself and others gazing toward the pale light on the horizon. Something unseen is drawing you toward the heart of the blackened desert. As you're contemplating leaving the area, one of your comes yells to get your attention. They can see something twinkling in the distance. It appears that the weak sunlight is reflecting from a shiny surface, so you decide to head there. When you finally reach the place, you can see that the pale light is shining off a steel helmet half buried in the dark sand. Carefully, ever so carefully, you dig around it with a handful of your comies, and soon find that a skeletal corpse of an armored knight. You cannot help but stand over the partially unearthed dead man with a puzzled expression. Were you truly sent here to find this? The only way to know is to dig it up. Companion Javek cannot be here. Digging the corpse out of the dark sand is not a difficult task. As it turns out, it takes perhaps a quarter of an hour, since the bulky iron-clad dead man is hauled out of the hole. He is laid bare for all of you to examine. Wearing what looks like iron and steel armor of Imperial design decorated with a sun motif, you venture that he used to be a knight of the Black Sun, an order of noble warriors in the service of the Triumvirate. No flesh remains on his bones, but otherwise the skeleton was preserved magnificently. The knight's sole possession seems to be a masterfully crafted but almost undecorated dark steel two-handed sword, which one of your comes is examining absent-mindedly. Puzzled, you wonder what you should do now. Were you meant to find a dead man? Was Braxius playing you for a fool, or perhaps you arrived too late? If nothing else, all the steel here would fetch a neat price. A yelp followed by several gasps jerks you out of your reverie, and you watch in horror as the dead knight skeleton stirs, then sits up and looks around slowly. Previously unseen embers burn in his eye sockets, their gaze piercing the soul itself. The undead knight makes no threatening moves. Instead, he glances at his bony hands briefly before slowly rising from the ground, black silt pouring from his armored form. He reaches out towards his sword without looking at the member of your crew holding it. The fellow turns pale and hands the knight the large blade without a moment's hesitation. With a practiced, casual move, the warrior places the blade on his shoulder and assumes a rather uninhibited stance. Most of the crew looks terrified, their gazes darting between freshly awakened undead and you. What's a good voice for Sedarias. What a disappointing welcoming committee, the knight utters, his raspy, almost metallic voice emanating from inside the helmeted skull. At last his burning gaze settles upon you. You must be the Vagrus of this woeful gang of travelers, he tells you. Courtesy dictates that I introduce myself. I am the Knight Sedarius of Ordis Negra Solis. As you can see, I was brought back from beyond the gates of Tartarus by the grace of the Triumvirate and the magnificence of the Black Sun. The gods saw fit for you to cross paths with me upon my return, and so you are chosen. Silence hangs in the cool desert air. The knight looks around again. What year is it? He rasps at last. After a brief, confused pause, you tell him the exact date, but you cannot spy any reaction on... How could you? He's a bone man. On his unmoving features. I see, he speaks again. Whether by chance or fate, you are brought here. So tell me, who are you and what are you doing here? You decide to introduce yourself to Sedarius and confide that you knew of his whereabouts from a pawnbroker named Braxius, who merely relayed the knowledge for another, an old wanderer called Agos. Puzzling, the Black Knight utters after a ponderous pause. Who could these be? A pawnbroker and a vagabond. Sounds outright implausible. They do not seem like the heralds of the Triumvirate, nor do I know them. I struggle to comprehend how they could possess knowledge of my return. You know his story, and so you offer an explanation. You explain to the Undead Knight that you have heard tell of his tale from the very person who set in motion the events that led you here, Agos. To prove it, you recount important fragments of it, including its very end that saw the The Vagrus, Tiberius, bury Sedarius in the sand only to perish at the spectral hands of the last pilgrimage. That is the truth, the knight replies after hearing the conclusion to the tale. As odd as it is that you know of what happened here, I'm delighted beyond measure that the traitor and wretched Tiberius got his comeuppance in the end. He turned on the leal servants of Sarkarad, and Oscul only to suffer a fate worse than death at the hands of the Pilgrims. You could swear that the skull inside his helmet is grinning more than usual, although you are keenly aware that it is impossible. Yet, Sedarius muses, I do not recall anyone called Argos being here with us. I must admit that my interests and my focus were far from Tiberius's men, so it might be that he was one of the many servants or vagrants attached to him. But why would anyone in that ill-fated band of vagabonds locate me so many years after surviving the ordeal, however unlikely that already is? And how would he know? And how could he possibly be aware of my awakening? It is a mystery, and I do not like mysteries. I shall look into it in due time. Until then, I must be content with the knowledge that the gods work through unlikely agents at times. And you say that it is not possible to track down this Argos? You confirm that you have no knowledge of where the old man is, and that Braxius, his proxy, has not seen him in a long time either. I see. Sedarius nods. Nevertheless, I'm grateful to the three of you. If not for you, I might still be lying buried here. You ask him if he was buried all this time. The knight stands motionless for a few moments. The embers in his eye sockets are dancing like a candle's flame. I shall confide in you, but only because I believe that you are here for a reason. He eventually says, in his nigh metallic voice, As I said, they left me for dead. They didn't even have the guts to grant me a warrior's death, the cowards. Buried up to my neck in sand, bound and alone. I was filled with rage. The wind was slowly piling up the silt, bringing the moment of my demise closer every minute that passed. But then, a sense of calm and fatigue engulfed me, and I fell asleep. The dreams came. I cannot say what they were, but they were accompanied me all the way. The years fell away, and I just slumbered in darkness. Sedarius holds a dramatic pause. I did die, he rasps at last. I felt it, but it was gentle, calm. I felt a magnificent presence within me in those dreams. The gods! Oscul and Sarkarad were with me, and thus I was at rest in the knowledge that they would not allow me to fall into oblivion. I heard their voices, the voices of the divine. While speaking, Sedarius is turned towards distant Arx Mortis over the horizon. You can see that many of your comies are also looking in that direction, as if mesmerized by the pale lights. Sensing that it would be prudent to break the strange trance, you point out that you should be going in a timely fashion. Indeed, the Black Knight utters, turning back to you. It is time that I share this miracle with my comrades in arms. I must seek out my order at once. You shall take me to them. You tell Sedarius that Argos implied that the knight would be interested in working for you. Preposterous, Sedarius rasps. And yet, your words are true. Those who sent you appear to have implied so. However, I do not even know this Argos. How and why would he have the audacity to insinuate something like that to you in my name? And why would I work for you? I have a responsibility first and foremost to report to my order, the Knights of the Black Sun. Sedarius seems to ponder something briefly and then steps towards you. You will take me to them, will you not? Sorry about that. Got a phone call. Let's see here. Why would I work for you? Blah, 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 blah. You will take me to them. Agree to take Sedarius to his fellow knights. Ask him to work for you instead. He's made it very plain that he doesn't want me to work for him, or doesn't want to work for me. But I have to imagine that I can convince him to work for me later. Yeah, we're definitely going to take him to his knights. A sensible decision, Sedarius allows. I shall put in a good word for you at the church and the order. I have a feeling when a skeleton walks into the church, the priests of Oscul are going to freak out. It is no small praise, just so you know. After what happened, I find it difficult to trust Vagri, so I hope that you appreciate the faith I'm placing in you. While the Aquaintances is preparing for departure, Sedarius finds himself a spot in the column, and stands motionless like an odd statue, waiting to begin the journey. Perhaps this is a good time to ask him questions, should you wish to do so. He stands motionless. Ask him what it feels like to be undead. Ask him what he is dreaming about. Let's ask him about the order of the Knights of the Black Sun.
My order is one of the Fulcimus Imperium, the Pillars of the Empire,
Sedarias explains with a practiced pathos.
along with the Nosferatus Sisterhood and Aetermanis. The knightly order of Ordis Negra Solis was founded to balance the warring imperial religious sects of the early Fourth Age. Since then, we have been the blade and the warhammer of the Empire. We strike when necessary, rooting out hidden foes from our midst. They may be slave lovers, spies, insurgents, criminals, or other traitors, and are leading the forces of the Empire in war. Our patron gods are the two of the triumvirate, the god of death, Oskul, and Sargorod, the raging one. Blessed by the Black Sun, we anointed knights wield the magnificent powers of both of our gods to bring ruin to the foes of the Empire. Woe betide anyone who dares oppose us, for we speak with the authority of the 12, and act out the righteous will of the Emperor.
He holds a pause for a moment, fixing you with his burning gaze.
Would that suffice?
You assure him that it will. Okay, let's get going. It's time to leave. Your crew indicates that the Aquaintances is ready to move out, and Sedarias does not wish to waste any time either, it seems. The closest place where my brethren can be found is in the shrine of the Eclipse at the Vigilus Tower, he tells you in his metallic voice.
A small sanctum beneath the actual tower, among the ravines where one of the mightiest of our order fought a wretched orcish horde alone. In any case, I must go there as soon as possible. No unnecessary delays. Let us go now to the shrine at the Vigilus Tower.
You tell him that it is a good thing, too, because due to the Imperial blockades, other parts of Terra Supra might be difficult to get to.
Blockades?
Sedarias inquires.
Not that those would obstruct someone of my standing, but I am curious. What would cause such province-wide measures? Indulge me in explaining, Vagrus.
And so you do, going into detail about the events that led to the closing down of the roads and the paths. As the Aquaintances lurches into motion, Sedarias listens to you intently. He has joined our Aquaintances. So where are we headed? Vigilus Tower? Oh, there it is. Okay, well, we gotta go back in the other direction. Let's zoom over to Avernum real quick. We'll drop off our stuff. And then honestly, I'll just gun it straight for Vigilus Tower. Like, I don't really feel the need to do anything else over here. Let's go hunting.
It's critical success.
We're so good at the game. Rats! We're not good at the game. Actually, these guys are pretty weak, so this shouldn't be too hard. We don't even have to do anything. Just fight them. Another wounded soldier. And they stole our slave. How dare they? And another wounded soldier. Come on, guys. Destroyed. Give him some time to heal. Garrick healed. Man, we're gonna have to replace all of our fighters. And our slaves. Oh man, I didn't even need all that stuff. Well, such is life. Let's rest again. And then actually what I think I'll do is I'll pause the video after we get to Avernum here. And I'll bring you, critical success to critical failing. I'll pause the video and then I'll bring you back when we reach Vigilus Tower. Show them our license. Let's turn these two in. And then, yeah, let's pause the episode. Not the episode. Let's just pause the video and I'll bring you back when we get to Vigilus Tower. Hold on just a second. And we're back. We have returned. We are outside of Vigilus Tower. The only thing that you might have missed is that Sedarias got annoyed because he thought I wasn't taking him to the tower. And I was like, my dude, I'm going. Here we are. To the garrison? Tell them we would like to speak with someone in authority? No? To the Shrine of the Eclipse. Sedarias points you to the path of a gorge beneath the hill high on Vigilus Tower stands proudly upon. The entrance to the ravine is well hidden from prying eyes, albeit not intentionally. It is merely the broken gray-brown nature of the terrain. According to the knight, the path will lead you to the Shrine of the Eclipse, where his brethren are supposed to be. Sedarias can now proceed down the path. The Black Knight grabs his gear and addresses you.
So, are you ready, Vagrus?
You taken aback. You state that you did not think he wanted you to accompany him.
Certainly, you can, he says after a brief pause. You and anyone you deem worthy, but keep it small. Consider it a reward for your assistance.
Accompany the knight to the shrine. We will take Nadir, Gorgoro, and so we got 2 frontliners, I assume. Garrick. In mere minutes, you are trudging down the path at the bottom of the gorge. As you walk behind the knight, your gaze explores the countless crevices and crags along the steep walls of the descending ravine. The narrow path winds around the base of the rocky hill the tower sits on, sometimes hiding the dark structure altogether, other times allowing a low-angle look at its blackened bulk. Holy paraphernalia such as... Hold on. Alright, and we're back. Sorry about the interruption, everybody. Okay. Where were we? Holy paraphernalia such as tokens, tiny sculptures, and talismans are placed on rocks, and small sacrifices were left on flat-topped stones, presumably by passerby. Some of these are even weapons in varying states of decay, indicating that they have been lying along the path undisturbed for a long time.
No one would dare steal weapons given to the god of vengeance,
Sedarias comments upon noticing you observing these sacrificial armaments. I'm not gonna take your weapons, bro.
Especially so close to the shrine of the eclipse. And so many legionnaires leave the weapons of a fallen comrade or a dead officer here in the hopes that Saragorod will grant them the strength and opportunity for vengeance.
Heading towards the shrine? Yeah. At length, the gorge arrives at a dead end where you spy a dark stone edifice. It is a small building with a domed roof and 3 walls. The fourth open to reveal an altar inside, a sun symbol wrought from a black iron that was attached to the top of the shrine. While inside, the red candles illuminate faded tapestries depicting battles and 2 statues, one bearing the visage of a robed skeleton, the other an armored and enraged warrior. Just outside the edifice, knights carved from the same dark stone stand eternal watch over the ravine. Sedarias stops about 24 paces from the shrine and looks around. Your gaze follows his, and you notice a cave entrance to the right, just behind the building. It is difficult to say what is inside, but you believe that you can make out tunnels leading to the halls locked deeper inside the rock. Perhaps it is the abode of a priest or a knight who oversees the shrine. Sedarias must think so, too, because he steps forward and calls out,
Abjuria ut uius imperator divinis.
Oh, that was terrible, but you get the idea. A few moments later, an old slave appears from the cave and bows low before approaching Sedarias. The wizened fellow is wearing a black tunic and his wrinkled skin is marked with hundreds of small religious tattoos, most of which are depictions of the Black Sun. He offers refreshments, but Sedarias ignores him and steps forward, calling out to his brethren again. Then you can see them emerging from the cave, 3 warriors clad in ornate black metal armor bearing the symbols of Ortis Negras Solis. One carries an axe and his bronze mask emulates an enraged face, while the other is armed with a sword, and his visor is forged to resemble a skull face. The third is an old knight with gray thinning hair wearing a similar suit of plate mail as the axe-wielding warrior.
Shrine keeper,
Sedarias addresses him with a bow of his head.
I am Sedarias, Knight of the Order. I have come to report to you a matter most urgent.
The old knight nods without a word, and Sedarias relates, he doesn't seem to care that he is a skeleton, relates the story of his return from the dead, including how he was mortally wounded due to the treachery of the Vagrus Tiberius Abero, who left for dead on the border of the Arenas Negras, fell into a slumber, and awakened when you dug him out. He attributes these events to the gods of the Empire, and especially Sergorod and Oscul, of course. The knights are listening. They exchange looks from time to time, but never interrupt Sedarias, or indeed speak at all.
And so I came here to report my return and the miracle that caused it. I am a brother at your service,
Sedarias concludes. The old knight closes his eyes and concentrates for a few moments. Then he finally speaks.
I knew it! You are an abomination. That's what you are.
His words ring out in utter silence, reverberating around the grim gorge's rock walls. Sedarias is struck by them so horribly that he takes a step back.
What? He manages eventually. How can you say this? What misguided thoughts led you to that conclusion, brother? Not thoughts, but divine power granted to me by the gods, in fact, the old knight says calmly. Using their boons, I can sense you were brought back against the will of all that is holy, by tainted heretic necromancy, no less. It was not your doing, I understand. Thus, honoring your past service in the name of the Order, I can offer you the only way out of this predicament. You shall be judged by knights of the Inner Circle, and promptly return to the underworld. You shall retain your honor, perhaps, but that is to be seen, and it depends on the depth of depravity that led you to your abomination. Sedarius stands speechless, his skeletal hands gripping the handle of his two-hander tightly. Toss your blade to the ground and yield, the old knight says calmly but decisively. You know that it is the only way, the right way. Sedarius is hesitating, his burning ember gaze flashing between you, the shrine, and the knights. The two warriors accompanying the senior brother begin circling your group slowly, their weapons in hand. Stand down in the name of the Emperor, the old knight says with emphasis. Aye, Sedarius says, the embers in his skull flaring up. Shall not! Disappointment quickly hardens into anger on the old knight's wizened face, and you can sense that violence is moments away. You are with him, of course. He gained loyalty. You step behind Sedarius and announce that he is under your protection. Moments later, your companions join you, ready for battle. If you were hoping this would deter the Knights of the Black Sun, you are mistaken. Then perish along with the abomination. The gods are with you, Vagrus, Sedarius tells you. They brought me back for a reason, and these fools are in the wrong for defying their will. Nay, they are outright heretics. There is no time to reply as your foes lunge into action. Alright, 3 dudes. Arrange yourself accordingly. Let's go like this. We want our gunner and our mage at the back. Good shot. 9 is great. Burn these 2. They blocked it. That is totally fine. I think I will break the armor of this guy. They are very weak. Oh, they heal. Hey, dude. Putting my... Okay, what do we got for Sedarius here? The Unholy Strike. Single attack. Cleave. 2 people. We have something called Bane, which curses them and makes their initiative and accuracy less. And then Vengeance, which increases our damage and accuracy for 3 rounds. Let's lead with that. Dude, he looks cool. I've been charged. Gorgoro, swap with our dwarf friend here. Oh, he blocked me. I would like to get Sedarius back to the front. Gas bomb. They've all been debuffed. All right, 1 down. You missed me, nerd. Reload. Charge forward again. We're wiping out the weaklings as we go. Gets an attack though. He missed me again. I have to attribute that to Garrick's gas bomb, I hope. 5 damage. That's really strong. Jeez. Oh man, it's like our dudes got serious all of a sudden. Victory. At last the knights succumb to their wounds and perish. The last to go is the old shrine keeper, whom Sedarius prepares to finish off, raising his greatsword high as the warrior is kneeling at his feet, reeling from his wounds. The gods are not the ones who brought you back, Sedarius, the old man manages, looking up at the Undead Knight. I need not curse you. You are already abominable and lost. With an enraged roar, Sedarius brings his 2-handed sword down and beheads the kneeling brother. The anguished cry echoes along the gorge's rock walls before silence falls again. Then Sedarius moves on to the elderly shrine slave who kneels down and bows his head, having accepted his fate. You are finally released, sinner, the Undead Knight tells the old man before beheading him too. You join Sedarius at the shrine's altar once you tend to wounds and make sure that no more foes remain. He is praying and you decide not to disturb him. After a few minutes, he rises and turns to you. I loathe that I had to do this, but the shrine keeper forced my hand, he growls. Why would these fools insist on their vacuous course of action? Could they not see that the gods are with me? He then looks at you intently. And there is your proof, he points at you with a skeletal hand. Since neither I nor you are cursed, and Sergorod listened to my prayer, we are assuredly not in the wrong here. The knight sits down on a large rock, looking thoughtful. Still, he says while he wipes the blood off his blade, something is wrong. The clairvoyance of the veteran knights of the order is seldom misled, if ever. Something played an evil trick on these brothers, and I need to get to the bottom of it. I must understand what happened to me and why, but this time I must find someone who I can trust, and who can definitely aid me in this investigation in a meaningful way.
You posit that he seems to have someone in mind.
Aye, he confirms, leaning on the now clean blade against his shoulder, an old acquaintance by the name of Octavius, an necromancer of great talent and admirable knowledge on matters divine. He will hear me out. He owes me, and he has ever been an honorable man. We should head there as soon as we can.
Sedarius rises from the rock and stops in his tracks, seemingly having just realized something.
I recognize what position all this puts you into. I seem to have become a renegade, and my order might hunt you for my deeds today, at least until I can prove that I am in the right. It's only a matter of time, yet it can put a strain on your enterprise. In return for your aid, I shall work for you as long as your ventures do not offend the gods. What say you?
You agree to his proposition. You will aid his investigation, and he will work for you. He gained loyalty.
Then we have an accord, Sedarius says and shakes your hand. Now do not forget what you've just promised. Your kind tends to go back on its word, and even though I work for you, I do not believe for a second that I am the same as your lackeys. We are more like partners, equals. I also do not tarry. Octavius is immortal. Unlike me, one never knows how long they last.
Not wishing to argue with the knight, you turn to the others and tell them that you are to leave at once. It would be foolish to linger here.
A wise notion. Keep your hands away from my fallen brethren, and do not enter their cave either. You do not wish to incur the wrath of the gods.
You set out to rejoin the Aquaintances at the tower right away. Luckily, nobody seems to have noticed what occurred down in the gorge.
As for Octavius,
Sedarius tells you once you are among your crew, a stone's throw away from Vigilus Tower.
He used to oversee a necropolis in the hinter caves of Devon. I am confident that it is a place where we'll find him, even after all these years.
You seem to have a heading. We gained insight. Awesome. Well, that's a great place to pause the first look video here. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, click the like button. It helps me out a lot. If you want to see more, you want to see Sedarius's quest continue, you want to see more Vagrus the Riven Realms or the other videos I have going on the channel, subscribe to the channel, click your notifications, get those going. That helps me out a lot. It notifies people when videos go live, and I hope to see you back here in the channel. See you around late, everybody. Bye!